MLK's assassination paperwork will be getting released tomorrow. At least that's what they've been saying. And I hope we find out the truth. I really do. He was Republican, remember that?
Cash Out, whose real name is John Michael Gibson, told the judge he's innocent. Last week, a jury found Gibson guilty of several counts, including rape, pimping, aggravated sodomy, and sex trafficking.
I met women, I dated women who were doing escort or whatever, however people want to look at it from a moral standpoint, but who was doing these things as a grown woman. I've only dealt with grown women. Nothing was forced. Nothing was coerced or anything of that nature.
Prosecutors say Gibson, his mother, Linda Smith, and cousin Tyrone Taylor used their record label to exploit women for several years. A jury also found Taylor guilty of multiple charges, including rape and sodomy, and they found Smith guilty of trafficking. All three were also convicted on RICO charges.
Jesus was falsely accused. A lot of the prophets were falsely accused. I know at the end of the day, through Jesus Christ, the Most High will always give you the actual judgment. One day, the truth will come out. One day, the truth will come out on my situation. One day, the truth will come out on this rape allegation.
Fulton County
of creation that was originally good. And so in Cain and Abel, we find the pattern of history, and it occurs throughout the arts again and again as people kind of wrestle with what that history means.
Yeah, Andrew, so good. And just in reading the book, I kept thinking what Joseph said to his brothers: what you meant for evil, God meant for good. I think that's the theme running through the book. Hey, tell us a bit more about your journey, by the way. You're a Jewish follower of Jesus. You're an award-winning screenwriter. It's been a long and winding and fascinating road in your career, best-selling author many times over. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you came to writing this book.
Well, one of the reasons I wrote this book is because the effect that was had on me by the great novel Crime and Punishment by the Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky. So when I read that book at the age of 19, I'll call myself an agnostic, but I was essentially an atheist. I was in a world of intellectuals and scholars and writers where the default was disbelief. And one of the things that was rising up because of that disbelief was moral relativism, the idea that you say one thing is good and I say another thing is good. There's no way to tell the difference. There's no moral order above us all that we're all responsible to. And when I read the murder scene in Crime and Punishment, I thought, no, I was 19 years old, and I wanted to be part of that intellectual world. I wanted to be part of the world of writers and academics and intellectuals. But when I read that book, I thought, no, it's impossible that evil can ever be good anywhere, even if it gets elected, even if it gets the majority, even if you land on the planet of evil, evil is still evil. And because I thought that, it took decades and decades to understand that if that's true, then there has to be a good God. There has to be a God who calls us away from evil to good. And it took me, as I say, decades to break through the default setting of society, and especially the society that I was in, and just defy it and say, I'm sorry, but I've got to accept God first in my life. And then after getting to know God better, accept Jesus Christ. And it was one of the great experiences of my life. It has brought so much joy into my life. And oddly enough, it has made my writing darker in some ways because I see the evil clearly, but I think it's made it deeper and richer, which was one of my fears. I was afraid I was going to become some kind of starry-eyed Christian who couldn't see the reality anymore. And actually, the result was the exact opposite. And one of the reasons I wrote this book is to tell you what you can learn from examining evil in the art. And what it can tell you about evil in real life and where it comes from.
Yeah, Andrew, so well said. And your moral clarity, my friend, shines through in the book, folks. It's The Kingdom of Cain. Pick it up wherever books are sold right now, and on the Andrew Klavan Show on the Daily Wire. Also follow Andrew on X across social media. Andrew, great job on the book. God bless, my friend. Keep up the great work. We will see you again soon. And coming up after the break, my final thoughts. We're talking about evil. How do we shine light in the darkness? Now is the time. Find out how. Next.
Hello, I'm former.
You want to know who's going to be the next president of the United States? And that's going to be a little over 3.5 years from now. So, would you like to know? Well, your silence I'll take as a maybe.
Former Attorney General Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King.
We're doing it with Dr. Martin Luther King, too. They're preparing all of that. They're going to release everything.
On Sunday, Gabbard also confirmed that she made criminal referrals to the FBI and Department of Justice about the findings of the documents she released on Friday. Gabbard's office says that the declassified documents it released show new evidence that the Obama administration, quote, manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. The newly released documents state that in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed that Russia was not trying to influence the election using cyber means. The report adds that, despite the assessment, in the months following the election, Obama officials leaked false statements to media outlets claiming that Russia attempted to hack the election. Here's the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, talking about these documents.
This treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic.
Since the release of these documents on Friday, President Trump has taken to Truth Social to praise Tulsi Gabbard for her work in exposing what he calls, quote, the highest level of election fraud. Reporting from the White House, Mari Otsu, NTD News.
Attorneys for Harvard University are arguing their case against the freeze on $2 billion in federal research funding. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
Legal arguments on Monday push for a final decision rather than temporary restraints. Harvard University and Justice Department lawyers both asked the federal judge to make a final ruling in their favor. The case involves a $2 billion funding freeze ordered by the Trump administration over what they believe is the school's failure to address anti-Semitism on its campus. Judge Allison Burroughs of the Massachusetts U.S. District Court heard arguments but didn't make a final ruling. The university's lawyers specifically asked in a court filing that Burroughs be assigned to this case because of her involvement in a related case that includes Harvard. Harvard's attorney argued on Monday that it was unlawful for the government to condition the university's use of the grants on what students and faculty say, referring to the government's accusations that Harvard had failed to prevent anti-Semitism on its campus. Harvard says this condition violates the university's First Amendment rights. In court filings, the school accuses the Trump administration of retaliation after it rejected a series of demands from a federal anti-Semitism task force. The school argued that the freeze puts the university's medical, scientific, and technological research at risk. The Justice Department denied the freeze was done in retaliation, saying the grants were under review even before a demand letter was sent in April. It argued that universities are not automatically entitled to federal funding. In a court filing, the government said funds were issued through contracts with explicit conditions that must be met to avoid cancellation. It claims the university's constitutional arguments are misplaced and are being used as a way to get around the law that really applies in this case. Both sides are asking for an expedited final decision rather than having an extended trial. The case has been combined with a similar one filed by Harvard faculty. If Judge Burroughs decides in the university's favor, the ruling would reverse a series of funding freezes and could revive Harvard's scientific and medical research operation. President Trump is already anticipating the judge will rule against the government. He said in a Truth Social post, "When she rules against us, we will immediately appeal and win." Arlene Richards, NTD News.
A second suspect has been arrested following the shooting of an off-duty Customs and Border Patrol agent in New York City. The Department of Homeland Security says that both suspects are in the country illegally. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
2 suspects have been arrested after an off-duty Customs and Border Patrol agent was shot in a New York City park. Both suspects crossed into the country illegally and both have had court orders to be removed since 2023, according to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
Our officer was off duty on Saturday evening when him and his friend were attacked. They were attacked by two individuals that were set on robbing them.
The officer is recovering from his wounds.
Thankfully, he had his service weapon with him and was able to defend himself and his friend, and injured one of those individuals that was trying to do them harm.
The wounded suspect was later identified and arrested after walking into a hospital to treat his wounds from the incident. Noem says that he has a long criminal history.
Arrested 4 different times in New York City, and because of the mayor's policies and was released back to do harm to people and to individuals living in this city.
On Monday, a second suspect was arrested, who's due to appear in federal court on Monday. Noem says he also has a criminal record. Noem and White House Board Czar Tom Homan blame, quote, sanctuary city policies for these suspects being released after their previous arrests.
Every sanctuary city is unsafe. I'll say it again, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And I'm going to work very hard for Secretary Noem to keep President Trump's promise and his commitment several weeks ago that sanctuary cities are now our priority.
They're protecting criminals who go out and murder, rape, rob. They perpetuate violence on our children. They traffic them and drugs and damage this country every single day.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams reacts to the shooting.
You know how outraged I am because of Andrew's bail reform laws. So I am extremely angry that we have a Customs Border Patrol officer that is in the hospital because a person that should have not been on our street was on our street.
Noem says that assaults on federal agents have risen nearly 700%. She says that people are trying to reveal their identities with the intention to intimidate and threaten them and their families. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
From a border town in Texas. But remember, we warned about this a couple weeks ago. I heard whispers of this. Yesterday, a U.S. senator who I really respect texted me, Charlie, real chats for amnesty on the Hill. In fact, let me read you the text from this U.S. senator. Let me see here, Senator. Here it is. He said, we got to kill this amnesty push right now. I'm so grateful for your post on this. We really need to go hard on this. I said, is there really a big amnesty push question? He said, there is, yes, unless we kill this quickly. So it's happening. On Congress, the president doesn't want amnesty. But Congress is going to try to frame this in a manipulative and deceitful way. Again, President Donald Trump, he has been resolute and stalwart in this. So let's play this. This is Maria Elvira Salazar, Chief Amnesty Czar of the U.S. Congress, the Dignity Act. What is the one that I want to play, though? Oh, yeah, play cut 402. This is Miss Amnesty. Oh, no, it's not amnesty, but it's amnesty. If you ever say it's not amnesty, but it's 100% amnesty. This is low-calorie amnesty. I'm sorry, it's still amnesty. Play cut 402.
They did break the law. They are illegals or undocumented, but they have been here for more than 5 years, contributing to the economy. Those people, someone gave them a job, and they are needed because we need hands in order to continue being the #1 economy in the world. So why don't we do something Solomonic, and let's break the baby into two. No path to citizenship in my law, no amnesty, no path ever. Just bring them out of the shadows, make them pay a fine for 7 years. That is billions of dollars to the Treasury. Make them give us 1% of their salary over 7 years. No federal programs, no health insurance. And then they can go back home for Christmas. They can come back, continue working, buying homes, paying taxes, and contributing to the economy.
First of all, she says, why don't we split something Solomonic and split the baby in two? I don't know if she was being metaphorical. In 1 Kings 3, you guys can read it. That's not actually what happened. But anyway, that's a whole separate biblical issue. First of all, Maria Elvira Salazar, let me tell you exactly how this is going to work. If you pass this ridiculous Dignity Act, this is what will happen. Every illegal will claim that they have been here for more than 5 years, thus ending all deportation in real time. You see, Maria, she's lying to you. Maria is deceiving you. Congresswoman Elvira Salazar is a snake on this topic. I just got to be honest. Because like, oh, we're going to have some dignity. No. This is not the Dignity Act. This is the Stop Deportation Act of 2025. So imagine if you've been here for 3 years. To say you've been here for 5 years, that's an easy fib. That is an easy lie. Maria Elvira Salazar, she's only in the House majority because we voted for mass deportations. She says, well, no pathway to citizenship, so it's not amnesty. Yes, again, it's worse than amnesty. It grinds all the mass deportations that you voted for and remain massively popular to a halt. But of course, that is the whole point. And that is the kicker, everybody. Don't look at the thing they're presenting to you. Look at the actual thing that is being presented. It is a head fake. It is a smokescreen operation. And she's trying to prey on the best intentions of MAGA. Because a lot of MAGA says, yeah, I guess if you've been here for 7 years. It's not about the 7 years or 8 years, even though that's wrong and they should all go. It's about what it will do practically. It's about what it will do. So can we get this straight, Maria Elvira Salazar? We passed this standing, amazing allocation of $100 billion for ICE, and we have all these ICE agents who effectively will now be able to deport like a couple thousand people a year, because all that they have to do, and get how stupid this is, all someone has to do now is wait for their 5-year mark. They just have to avoid law enforcement till 5 years. So they just have to bounce around the country to sanctuary city until they hit 5 years, and then they're fine? This is madness. This is a congressionally created, corporate-driven loophole. Say, I'm going to split the baby. Sit down, Maria Elvira. We didn't vote for this. I don't know who you are or what you think you're doing. I campaigned for you once. This is a joke. This is a fraud. And if you want to go run with the Democrats to go push amnesty, it's 100% amnesty. Because what it would do, it will not give them citizenship. It will end all of what we voted for. We did not have the rallies and millions of people vote in first-time numbers so we could have the ICE agents who are getting doxxed and having their lives put in danger not be able to do their job. I want to just play one more piece of tape here from Maria Elvira Salazar. Let's go. Oh, it's not in English. Fitting. Play cut 428.
Señor presidente, el mismo Dios que se lo salvó a usted de la muerte en Pensilvania hace solamente un año y que le puso de vuelta en la oficina oval en contra de todo pronóstico, es el mismo Dios todopoderoso al que millones y millones le están rogando hoy por dignidad, no por amnistía. Señor presidente, yo sé que usted puede ser para inmigración lo que Lincoln fue para la esclavitud y Reagan para el comunismo.
She said, be for dignity the same way that Lincoln was against slavery and Reagan was against communism. I mean, that's just gross. I'm sorry. That is disgusting. That is repulsive. To kind of like morally blackmail MAGA as if this is like the new fight for the abolition of slavery. How about this, Maria? Go home. Not you, but to the people that you're trying to protect. Go home. Stop trying to guilt trip us. Stop the moral blackmail. We have no record keeping of any of this stuff. You broke into America. You get to vaya con Dios. Go with God. You work hard. You take care of your family, your business, your people. But when it comes to health care, the system makes you feel powerful. So much for taking the time. I want to start with cut 444, and we'll take it from there. Play cut 444.
We've been telling kids for 15 years to code. Learn to code, we said. Yeah, well, AI's coming for the coders. They're not coming for the welders. They're not coming for the plumbers. They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC. They're not coming for the electricians. You know, that Ideas Festival I was telling you about in Aspen, I sat there and listened to Larry Fink say we need 500,000 electricians in the next couple of years. Not hyperbole. This is me being the alarmist again.
Mike, that clip went so viral. Thank you for saying that. Tell us more about where you said it and the significance of your push to rebuild blue-collar America. Mike Rowe.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, one of the craziest events I've ever attended, simply because of its import and I think the lack of coverage that it's gotten. This was the Energy and AI Summit convened in Pittsburgh a couple days ago by both sitting senators of that state. This was primarily David McCormick's event. He's the Republican, but John Fetterman was there, the Democrat, along with hundreds of people and 30 or 40 of the CEOs of the biggest companies in the country. And the president was there. I was on the stage with the president and 30 CEOs, and I mean, everybody was there, and I think I got invited to sort of remind the crowd that creating jobs is different than creating enthusiasm for jobs. And, I'm kind of a Debbie Downer in a situation like that, because I think a lot of people still cling to this idea that the way to get people back to work is to create jobs or create more opportunity. But that kind of collapses under its own weight when you look at 7.6 million open jobs at the moment, including 500,000 open jobs in manufacturing. So in general, Charlie, my message was, look, I was rooting for Obama in 2009 when he promised 3 million shovel-ready jobs in his Highway Infrastructure Act. But I said at the time, very publicly, you're going to have a tough time selling 3 million shovel-ready jobs to a country that is not all that enthused about picking up a shovel. And I worry, too, today with this president, if he succeeds, and I'm rooting for him, too, I want to see reshoring. I want to see this reindustrialization in this country, this manufacturing renaissance. But he's going to create a couple million jobs if he pulls this off. And we're living in a world and in a moment where we got 500,000 jobs in manufacturing right now that we can't fill. It's not one person doing a really foolish thing. It's a lot of people standing by watching a lot of dumb things happen, including, and perhaps especially, the removal of shop class from high school. That really put us on a road, Charlie, a bad road. So that's kind of why I was there in the only suit and tie that I actually own, testifying.
So yes, I love that. So I want to zero in on that because that's so important. So number one, I can speak from personal experience. I've never really been into crafts or shop. That's not my focus or emphasis. But I went to school at Wheeling High School in the suburbs of Chicago, and we had a huge automotives and shop class. However, it was always treated as if those were kind of like the secondary kids. Like those are the kids that they're not in the AP classes, and they're not the ones that are going to be getting the good jobs. And it was kind of looked down upon. Again, it wasn't said, as audibly, but it was a vibe. It was definitely the perspective that we were given that, come on, you're going to, you're going to shop class. What you're kind of like beneath the surface. So that we need to change that. But I want to just, in the 3.5 minutes we have in this segment, because it's the most important thing, we could talk about the vibes and the cultural stuff forever. Can you go through the numbers, Mike Rowe? How many of these muscular jobs are going to be necessary? How many AI jobs are going to be lost? And how many job openings are there right now in America that pay a decent wage, that require a little bit of skill, a little bit of training, and a lot of hard work? What is the current economic number showing us?
I can tell you what I know. I don't have a crystal ball, obviously, so I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out. But in real time right now, we have 7.6 million open jobs, the vast majority of which do not require a 4-year degree. They require training. Within that cohort, we've got another 482,000 jobs that are open in manufacturing right now. I can't tell you definitively what they pay and what kind of path you're going to get on if you jump into that end of the pool, because state by state, it varies. This is the thing, Charlie. It's a trap. We want to be able to say, this is what a welder makes. Well, I've trained 2,500 welders. Many of them are making well into the 6 figures. I just talked to a guy the other day who came back from the Gulf of Oman, underwater welding, $300,000 a year tax-free. Okay. Now, there are also welders in this country making $55,000, $60,000 in Louisiana and Ohio. So it's difficult, right? But here's what gets lost, and here's what I'll leave you with, because I know you got to go to a break. People talk about welders and electricians and steam fitters and pipe fitters as workers, period. The vast majority of small businesses we have in this country were formed by men and women, but mostly men, who mastered a skill that was in demand and then went on to buy a couple of vans and hire their buddy, maybe a plumber, maybe a couple HVAC guys, maybe some electricians, and now they have a mechanical contracting company and they're doing a few $1 million a year. Those stories need to be told as well, because even though that event I was just at, that was all about the macro economy. That was MacroWorks. I'm MicroWorks. right? And I don't want to lose sight of the individual. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that mastering a skill that's in demand can still take the right person with a modicum of entrepreneurial spirit and a little bit of ambition. It'll put that person on a road, and that road leads to some place that looks an awful lot like prosperity.
MikeRowWorks.org. Mike, come back anytime. You are doing phenomenal work. And
thanks, Charlie. You too.
I think I'll get over seeing you in a suit. I think I'll get over it. But we'll see what happens.
Well, have you made up your mind on whether or not you want to know or not? You do? Okay, well, it's not going to be Gavin Newsom. It's not going to be Mayor Pete. It's not going to be AOC or any of those other people. Marco Rubio has a better chance than any of them. It's going to be J.D. Vance. You heard me, J.D. Vance.